Thank you.
Thank you. Oh God, I still got hot under. Yes, yes.
Kate, first of all, you are fabulous. It is an honor to have you here. Thank you for coming to
Thank you very much.
You are definitely an inspiration to everyone that's here.
Thank you.
My question is this. A lot of your colleagues that are here, some have been here in previous years, have made it very obvious that they are no longer interested in the franchise, that they have moved on. What is it about your experience? Is there something in particular that really ties you to the show? Because there's an obvious enthusiasm that is contagious.
Well, you know what it is. I say it. I say it out. I was the first woman captain. That's television history, my friend. That's a very big deal. And it will stay with me forever, and I had to accept that. So, you know, if you're playing an ancillary or tangential role, I can understand that. I don't forgive it. I've never done it in my life. Once you sign that contract, you better be there, front and center, 100%. That's the deal. Because all actors do when they're not working is complain. Right? Why am I not working? I'm such a good actor. And then they get the job, and they're late. They don't know their lines, or they're complaining. Right? So I think the whole thing is, are you kidding? When I got that part, I said, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. And these guys are going to be happy that I did this. And we're going to look back on these 7 years, or at least I will, and I will say to myself, as Patrick Stewart said to me in the first week, I met him at the craft service table. He was going out, I was coming in. I said, Patrick, give me some words of wisdom. I'm filled with trepidation. I'm sleepless. I'm agitated. I'm scared. He said, don't be scared. There's absolutely nothing to be frightened of. Now here's how it's going to go. Concentrate. Do your best work. And after 7 years, you should be very proud indeed. Trust no one. And he walked away. Rather sound advice, I found. Yes. Madam.
Oh, this is sort of a somber question, and you might not want to answer it, but
we shall see what we shall see. What is it?
Okay. I know that you're Catholic, and you mentioned that one of your favorite episodes...
You know that I'm what?
The Catholic.
The captain.
Catholic.
That I'm Catholic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as fun as being captain. Go on.
One of your favorite episodes is Death Wish, obviously dealing with suicide.
Right.
So, I know that some, not all, but some Catholics believe that suicide is an entrance to hell. And I'm wondering what you believe as far as that, and why you believe the way you do.
I think I'm going to circumvent that by answering this way. When it comes to God, I have searched and searched and searched. Last week, just before Teddy died, my spiritual confessor of 38 years, who was a cloistered Trappistine nun, Mother Columba Guare, died. I went to her bedside. I embraced her. And the last words she said to me was, love. But I remember 10 years ago when I was in a real struggle, very difficult spiritual struggle. And I went out and I spent a week on retreat. And you know, the cloister is beautiful, the monastery, because you're just quiet. But you get to talk. I mean, I got to have 2 hours with Columba every day, and I said to her, I'm in hell, Columba. I can't seem to resolve these conflicts. It's ripping at my heart. I have no understanding of my soul. I have no concept of God. My childlike faith has eluded me. I find myself in a vast emptiness. Is this what they call the darkness of the soul? Now you who have dedicated 60 years of your life to a world of silence, to the love of God, tell me, who is God? Tell me, how does God exist? Does God exist? And she looked at me for what felt like 2 minutes, and she said, I certainly hope so, darling. It's all a leap and a prayer, right? Suicide? Suicide? Who are a bunch of Catholics to tell anybody in abject despair that it's against the rules of their self-imposed morality to put a gun to your head and find some relief? I don't have any answers of any kind on that level, except this one. I know this. To love is all that matters. To exercise the right to love at all times. That's all we can hope for and all we can do. And if somebody you know feels suicidal, just love them. And if they blow their brains out, continue to love them. This is the game, right? Aren't you glad you asked? Next. Yes.
All right, I'll try to follow that. As a representative of the 20 to 40 male demographic that you were going for, you still have us. So just to let you know that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
And this, you don't have to just couch it in terms of origin, but as a performer, as an actor, can you give me an example of when you maybe walked off stage and you said, oh, I nailed it? And then maybe another example where you're like, God, I want one more crack at that.
There were many Friday nights. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the SAG union rules. When you're shooting a series, you can roll from Friday into Saturday, and you can shoot from 8 a.m. on a Friday to 8 a.m. on a Saturday without stopping, without pause. And I did that a fair number of times, certainly the first 3 seasons. So around 4 o'clock in the morning, on a Saturday morning, the directors would invariably shoot out my colleagues, meaning they'd shoot Chakotay, they'd shoot Paris, Ensign Kim, and they'd leave the close-up, the final big close-up of Janeway, to last, knowing that I would be loath to give even less than my best at 4 a.m. Well, that's all well and good, isn't it? Except by then, all of the men had dropped trowel and were spitballing me and saying the most... I mean, this went on every Friday night, right? It was their way of sort of saying, we think we love you, but we don't know how much. So Friday nights were an ongoing challenge, but very often Monday mornings were my slam dunks. When I'd come in ready to go, that's a 4:30 call, right? In the chair at 5, on the set at 5:30, ready to go, roll it out, right? And the rest of them would be like this. I always felt good about that. When I'd meet Picardo in the hospital, he'd be ready, we'd be ready. Almost all of those scenes with Bob were great. Crackling, yeah. It's hard to say. It's all about mood, temperament, and investment, you know? If my kids were sick, usually there was some corner of me that was absent. That was very hard, that fight, you know? To fight that fear down and concentrate on what you have to do. That's what I mean about women. I think women have to do this a lot more than men know that we have to do it. Don't you think that's true? Mm-hmm. Am I alone in this? Mm-hmm. Men are getting so much better. Men are wonderful now, but it's still very hard. It's still very much a man's world. Yes?
First, I'd like to say that you may have the 20 to 40 demographic, but you're also capturing the younger demographic. My 13-year-old son, you're his favorite Star Trek captain.
Because you are a wonderful mother, madam.
He spent the summer watching Voyager. He's up to the 7th season. I called him last night on the phone. He said, sorry, Mom, I'm watching Star Trek and Voyager.
I love him, yes.
So thank you for making my job as a mother easier. He can only be better at seeing, you know, strong.
That's a wonderful thing to say to me. Thank you.
And also it was my privilege to see you last fall at Broadway in Equius with Daniel Radcliffe. Can you say a little bit about that show and your experience?
I loved it. I loved doing it. I thought Dan Radcliffe was terrific. But my great friend Richard Griffiths was the guy that I had all my scenes with. And I think that, you know, Peter Shaffer is a brilliant playwright, and it's a wonderful story. I think it's a timeless story of identity crisis. And I loved the part I played, Hester Solomon. Who was she, you know? She was just a counsel, but she was a deeply feeling and astute woman. And you love it as an actor when you get to when you know where you're going for a year. Do you know? For a year, you get to go to the theater every night, except on Mondays. And there's a feeling of buoyancy and ebullience, at least. I'm a creature of the theater. I'm probably most comfortable in the theater. God knows I'm happy in the theater. So I loved every second of it. Loved it, loved it. And thank you for coming.